Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. We're diving into 19th century Japan today, picking up with Manjiro's story in chapter 41 of Heart of a Samurai.
Oh, this is where things get really interesting.
It really is. So much happens in this chapter. We've got Manjiro returning home to Japan after his time in America.
Which, let's be real, must feel like he's stepped onto another planet practically, after experiencing a whole different world.
Totally. And on top of that, you've got all these rumors flying around about him, whispers of him being a spy.
And then on the flip side, you've got people saying he might be on the path to becoming a samurai.
Right. Talk about wild turn of events. So how does the author even set the stage for all of this?
Well, the chapter opens with this incredibly vivid scene. Picture this: a moonlit path stretching across the ocean. It's almost as if it's reaching all the way back to America.
Wow, that's such a powerful image. You can practically feel Manjiro caught between these two worlds, the peaceful fishing village he remembers.
Representing that traditional way of life,
But then there's this underlying current, this feeling that things are about to change.
like a quiet wind that's about to become a storm,
And then, bam, enters the messenger.
totally disrupting their peaceful existence. Talk about a mood shift. This messenger shows up with news that'll turn Manjiro's world upside down. He's been summoned by Lord Yamauchi himself.
Lord Yamarchi, the leader of Tosa, that's a big deal.
It's huge, and nobody knows what to make of it.
Is Manjiro suspected of being a spy because of his time in America?
Or could there be something more to it?
I mean, imagine if he was actually being considered for the path of a samurai.
That's the question that hangs in the air, isn't it?
It's mind-blowing to even think about a fisherman, someone outside the traditional samurai class, being considered for that role. That really challenges the very definition of what it means to be a samurai, especially in this era of change.
Exactly. And speaking of challenges, the messenger drops this line that really stuck with me. He says, Manjiro will need the heart of a samurai to face what's to come. What do you make of that?
Oh man, chills. It makes you think about everything Manjiro's already endured. Surviving a shipwreck, living in a foreign land. Talk about resilience. This guy's been through the ringer.
He really has. And the author doesn't just tell us that, he shows us. Remember that incredible metaphor? Manjiro's heart, scoured by sand, pounded by waves, burned by sun, but also polished by rain and wind.
It's like those experiences, the hardships, they've shaped him, refined him.
Absolutely. It's that inner strength forged in the fires of hardship. Doesn't that resonate with you? It's like this idea that overcoming challenges, it shapes us, makes us who we are.
Totally. And Manjiro's journey really highlights that. He may be a fisherman, but you can see he has this inner strength, this resilience that goes beyond any social class. It's pretty darn samurai-like, if you ask me.
I completely agree. And it's fascinating how the author uses Manjiro's family to explore this clash between holding on to tradition and embracing change. You got Manjiro, who's seen the world, who understands that Japan can't stay isolated forever,
And then there's his mother.
understandably terrified by this summons.
She's fiercely protective of her son, of their traditional way of life. It's almost like she sees change as this looming threat.
Right, like she wants to shield Manjiro, maybe even Japan itself, from the outside world.
It's this classic tension between the comfort of the familiar and the uncertainty of the unknown.
And that's exactly what the author captures so brilliantly in this chapter.
It's like she's trying to hold back the tide or something, you know?
Yes.
But Manjiro, he's changed. He's been through so much, and it's pushing against everything everyone expects from him.
For sure. And it's not just Japan changing around him, right? Manjiro himself, he's gone through this massive transformation. This is the guy who went from being a simple fisherman to someone who sailed across the ocean, learned new languages. He's seen a whole different way of life. And now he's being summoned by a powerful lord. It really makes you think about how our experiences, all of them, shape who we become.
Absolutely. And how those experiences, they can sometimes clash with what people expect from us. It's like everyone in Manjiro's life has an opinion about who he is, what he should be doing.
It's like that saying, what is it? You can't go home again. But Manjiro, he has come home. He's just not the same person he was when he left.
Right.
And you really feel that when the messenger calls him an outsider, ouch, that's got to sting a little.
Oh, totally. Especially with how his mother reacts. She immediately jumps in, insists he's just as Japanese as anyone else. You can really feel that fierce love, that protectiveness she has for him.
Yeah. But at the same time, even she sounds a little unsure, don't you think?
Yeah.
There's this underlying worry there, like she's concerned about how he's different now, how his experiences have set him apart.
Yes, it's like this unspoken question hanging in the air. Does he really belong? And I think
Mm.
Manjiro feels it too, especially when he remembers that time he said he wanted to be a samurai.
Which back then must seem like an impossible dream. He was just a kid, a fisherman in a desperate situation, almost like he was grasping at anything, any hope he could find.
Exactly. But now that dream takes on a whole new meaning. It's not just about survival anymore. It represents this potential transformation, a chance to reach a level of social standing that he never could have imagined before.
And that's where things get really interesting. What does it even mean to be a samurai in a world that's changing so rapidly? Is it still about those old values, loyalty, bravery, honor? Or is it something more now?
It's a question that cuts right to the heart of this chapter, and the author gives us some clues, right?
Hmm?
Think about that imagery with Manjiro's heart. Scoured by sand, pounded by waves, burned by the sun, but also polished by rain and wind.
It's powerful, right? Like all those hardships, they didn't break him. They shaped him, refined him, made him stronger. It's like the author saying true strength, that heart of a samurai, it doesn't come from your family name or your social status. It's something deeper.
It's about resilience, about facing those challenges head on, coming out the other side maybe a little banged up, but not broken.
Exactly. And that's something we can all relate to, right? The idea that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
100%. But let's not forget about the messenger in all of this. He's the one who drops this bombshell about Manjiro maybe becoming a samurai, but he seems kind of skeptical about it too.
He practically laughs, doesn't he? The
Yeah.
whole idea of a simple fisherman becoming a samurai, it's almost absurd to him. It goes against everything he thinks he knows about how the world works.
It really shows just how deeply rooted that social hierarchy was in Japan at that time.
For sure. And it just highlights those obstacles Manjiro would face if he did try to become a samurai.
Hmm.
He'd be going up against centuries of tradition, not to mention the prejudices of people like that messenger.
It's a classic underdog story, isn't it? And it sets the stage for what's sure to be a fascinating exploration of change, both for Manjiro personally and for Japanese society as a whole.
Totally. Manjiro's story it becomes this sort of microcosm of the larger transformations happening all across Japan at the time and raises this question: can tradition and progress coexist?
It's a question that we're still grappling with today, even. We've talked about Manjiro's journey, the idea of that heart of a samurai, the clash between tradition and change. But there's one more thing we need to unpack.
The author's masterful use of foreshadowing. Talk about keeping readers on the edge of their seats.
Yeah, it's like you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Exactly. And it all circles back to that image we talked about earlier, that moonlit path stretching out toward America. It's not just beautiful, it's symbolic. It's like Manjiro is being pulled in two opposite directions. On the one hand, there's the familiarity of his village, his family, that old life.
And then there's that pull towards the unknown, America, and everything he experienced there. Talk about being caught between two worlds.
Right. He's wrestling with this internal conflict, this idea of home and what it means, this longing for adventure. I think we've all felt that tension at some point in our lives, haven't we?
Absolutely. But for Manjiro, the stakes are so much higher. Like his choices could actually impact the future of Japan. That's a lot of pressure, especially when you think about that warning from the messenger. Remember he said Manjiro will need the heart of a samurai to deal with what's coming?
Talk about ominous foreshadowing. It makes you wonder what lies ahead for him. Will he be thrown in prison, accused of being a spy, or will he get a chance to prove himself, maybe even become a samurai like those rumors suggest? What do you think will happen?
Honestly, I have no idea. It's what makes the story so gripping. And even if he does get that chance, will he be accepted by the samurai class? Or will they always see him as an outsider, the fisherman who dared to dream bigger?
It's a classic underdog story, and you can't help but root for him. You just want him to find his place in a world that seems to be changing faster than anyone can keep up with.
And that's what makes Heart of a Samurai so brilliant. It leaves you thinking about those big questions about identity, about change, about staying true to yourself, even when the world around you feels like it's turned upside down.
And those are questions that still resonate with us today, aren't they? We might not be living in 19th century Japan, but we've all faced those moments of uncertainty, those choices about who we want to be, what we stand for.
Absolutely. And Manjiro's story reminds us that it's okay to embrace change, to challenge expectations, and forge our own paths, even if those paths lead us somewhere unexpected.
Because sometimes the most rewarding journeys are the ones we never saw coming.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And on that note, I think we're going to wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us as we took a deep dive into Heart of a Samurai. Until next time.